Hey, Crystal. Hey, Mrs. Tom. Come on in. What it do? What it do? What it do? Hey, hot chocolate. Hey, Janet. Hey, empathy. Hey, y'all. What it do? What it do? What it do? I had a delivery. I had a late delivery. And I had some stuff delivered that looked like it went to the wrong place. Hey, Be Rich. Y'all come on in. Come on in. Come on in. What's wrong with y'all president? Ooh, listen. If y'all listen, if y'all got them PPP loans and y'all know that it was being fudged, and I don't want to say I'm disappointed or mad or whatever. I just dislike that our people fell for the banana in the tailpipe with them PPP loans. And, I know they on a crackdown. They say for fraud. And I know they started with Minnesota and all of this welfare fraud and, loan fraud, PPP loan, all of that type of stuff. Never got one, and he kind of pushed it, and folk was saying, oh, well, he crooked and he letting us do it. And I mean, I knew his first semester that his intent was going to come back and play dumb, and they not letting him, they not forgiving his debt. Hey, Cynthia, they not forgiving his fraud. And baby, they say J.D. Vance is over the crackdown of, the government fraud and all of that. Like they trying to recover. Shit. It was always a setup. He know greed. He knew people was going to bite that bullet. And now to find out that, J.D. Vance is over this fraud crackdown, as they put it. This big, now take in mind now, his sons is still milking the system, benefiting off of his position. Drones and military, you know how they do. I hate it for the people, so I don't want to be a hypocrite and act like I'm excited for some people, and feel sorry for others. I just hate we fell for it. I hate the people that I know that may have took that bait and fudge. All they gonna do now is check tax season just now finishing up April 5th. Yeah. And guess what? They finna run that shit concurrent. Like they finna double check that paper. They got their system set up where If you deducted here and claimed here, that bull crap he got caught on, y'all finna get caught up on it too. And I don't want folk to just be acting like I'm saying that because I don't went off on somebody today. No, no, no. I need for y'all to get y'all affairs in order. I hate to say this though. I hate to say some crooked stuff. Cause baby, when I tell you they are listening, they don't want you to say nothing about you, to the dump. They don't want you to say nothing about it. SBA sends 562,000 suspected fraudulent loans to Treasury for collections. Ooh, wait a minute. They tell you to make a payment plan. They gonna get you one way or another. If you filed your taxes, they gonna get you one way or another. And if you let somebody fraudulently fill out paperwork for you to beat the system, I'm gonna tell you this, you better tell them who filled out your paperwork. It ain't gonna get you off. By no means. It's not gonna get you off. They already got you. All that playing with your taxes, claiming shit, rich on the front end, poor on the back end type stuff. If they got Trump, they gonna get you too. So let's be clear. It says the borrowers are tied to 22.2 billion in delinquent paycheck protection program and COV economic injury disaster EIDL loans that were previously flagged for suspicion of fraud during the Biden administration but never sent to Treasury for collection, nor referred to the U.S. Department of Justice for investigation. The SBA has transmitted the borrowers to the Department of Justice, and with today's referral, Treasury will begin collecting on the outstanding debt as part of the Trump administration commitment to, commitment to recouping stolen pandemic-era funds on behalf of American taxpayers. That's me. That's me. Woo! That's me. Taxpayers and small business owners. From day one, the Trump SBA has worked tirelessly to crack down on billions in pandemic-era fraud that the Biden, no, baby, that was approved through Trump, but, fraud that the Biden administration forgave or ignored. Now, they did ignore it, but who gave it to y'all, though? Knowing good and damn well that y'all was gonna fudge the paperwork, because that's what he do. But Big Baby done got in trouble. He done got in trouble with fudging them numbers. So guess what that mean for you? Guess what that mean for y'all? I'm just forewarning you, because I don't want it to seem like I put it out there for one person who I took pleasure in I took pleasuring in posting it on my wall. Yeah. Of their consistent fraud. I'm trying to give y'all the heads up. Don't think it's going to bypass y'all. I'm telling y'all, it's coming. If you fudged, if you lied, if you started a business, and don't act like I'm just now coming up with this. I've been saying this. And if you're truthful, you know I have. I've been warning y'all it's coming. I've been warning y'all it's coming. Well, it's here now. He couldn't beat it. And it was going to come anyway because it was a trap. It was a trap. It was a trap. His plan was to get away with it and catch y'all up later. Throw y'all in to get free labor. You know, war is money-making business, and prison is too, for making America great again. He was never supposed to be found guilty of it. But now that he has been, I need for y'all to really understand. Trick bag. Absolutely empathy. And the people who was taking money from people to fraudulently fill out that paperwork for them, oh yeah, their asses is in trouble too. Ain't nowhere in the world I paid you to fill out my paperwork to get over, and I'm going to let you make it. Wrong answer. Oh, girl, I'm talking about she was showing people's names. She was showing people's names on her Facebook page years ago, you know, back during COVID. She went and got her laptop out of storage to milk this one dry. Oh, yes. Auntie P, you got all of that? Hell yeah. Folks better know who they playing with. Who got it? True Results? He got it a long time ago. Payday, I sent that shit to her. I mean, quiet as it's kept. Couple of folk got it. I just don't want folk to think I'm just tripping now. No, I was keeping my cool. I was keeping my cool till you lost your mind. Yeah. So them folks, some of these folks, you know, they was careless with people's information. Careless as hell, man. They got all of that. And you know, quiet as it's kept. Some of these same people may have already been busted and working for them. Some of these people are working. Got all y'all information. Everybody that they done did work for fraudulently, they got your information. So when it comes time to cut deals, just like old Ray Jackson in Dallas, who was laundering that money, you know, cleaning that dirty money for all of them, you know. Yeah. Yeah. He took a deal, y'all. What y'all think gonna happen? Why y'all think some of these people done got caught up and done been to the federal penitentiary since then? Once that dirty Ray Jackson dropped a dime and gave up, you know, his list of people that he was doing business with, that he cleaned their money for, Y'all better stay woke. I knew from jump it was a set of empathy. Listen. I knew better. Now, I ain't gonna act like long time ago like I wouldn't have fell for the banana in the tailpipe. But I knew better. Yeah, but I've never liked the way Trump did business. I couldn't stand when my mama would say, oh, he's a smart business. Mama, he's a con artist. He's a con. He a con. So I'm finna leave that part alone. I just want y'all to know The auntie fee when I put on my wall, I wasn't faking. Y'all better do y'all research. And some of y'all better get your affairs in order. Fair warning. Fair warning. Some of y'all may want to get y'all affairs in order. And I hate to tell y'all how caught y'all really are because of the way y'all filed y'all taxes. And if some of y'all was on government assistance, this is just going to be the easy way to snatch it from you. Forever. Because, you know, once you get caught using it, saying you broke here, claiming you got money over here, you can't be getting government assistance and say that you need what's that, Section 8 and stuff and food stamps. They got you tripped up. And the minute you lie, and then on the flip side, the minute you make payment arrangements, because you see what I just read, now they want you to start collecting on this fake stuff. So the very minute you make a payment plan is admission of guilt. So people could say, I don't like them, or I'm coming for them. I'm giving you free game. Now you can do with it what you want to do with it. You can think it ain't you, it ain't gonna touch you. I'm giving you free game. I'm giving you free game. Get your affairs in order. Cause if yo taxes don't match up to 2021, 2029, whenever that was, to now, and y'all gonna say, oh, well, did nobody say nothing? That ain't gonna forget that. And the minute you say, okay, I can make a payment plan, like this gonna make y'all square, yeah. That's admission of guilt. I know a lady who had a business in home health care. As soon as my sister told me about it, we went over there in Lake Ridge. I listened to the spiel and all of this, that, and the other. And I shook my head. Yeah. My sister wanted me to hear it. I said, Payment protection during COVID. They were offering paycheck protection program. They have $22.2 billion in delinquent payback. And the PPP, the COV, economic injury disaster. It was called what? EIDL loans that were previously flagged for suspicion of fraud, they say, during the Biden administration. Now, and that may be true because remember, Biden passed an extension where they had 10 years. They had 10 years to prosecute. So that part may be true. Biden, he sure did. He extended it. PPP has, was really a prison pipeline. Oh my God, Pressure. Oh, now I said it one way. I like the way you said it, Pressure. It was a setup. It was really a prison pipeline policy because he knew y'all was going to take the bait. Some of y'all started businesses off of it. Never had a business before. I saw some people to start a snow cone. What? Did you already have a snow cone business? I saw people start a t-shirt business. Did you already have a t-shirt business? Huh? This wasn't the start of business. This wasn't to buy a car. This wasn't to invest in real estate. What? I just heard some of the craziest shit. This was for people who already had a business and could not pay their employees. And if you say, well, I did have a business. I had a nail business. I was doing nails on the side. Well, how many employees did you have? Oh, you was the only one that was doing so how many, when that paperwork was filled out, how many employees did you say you could not pay? Because they didn't give you tens of thousands and thousands of dollars because you couldn't pay yourself. So you lied and said you had about 10, 15 employees that you couldn't pay. That's fraud. That's fraud. I'm just telling y'all up front. They put it out here today. I saw it. I saw last week where they was talking about Minnesota. That's where it began. And I saw him over the weekend or something where he said J.D. Vance was over. Yeah. And I said, okay, here they go. Here they go. He can't beat his. Not that it mattered if he could or not, but let me tell you something. If he couldn't beat his fraud, he is not going to let you beat yours. You can best believe that. And they trying to put money back in the treasury. That man had to come up with $100 million to put on his fraud case. Huh? Because he couldn't get a surety bond. Huh? It's like, well, where he get this money from? All of a sudden, he didn't have none. Now he done came up with oh yeah, that we still in war, cause he done made somebody done loaned him some money. Yeah, he couldn't get out of it. So all I'm saying, if he couldn't get out of it, you not gonna get out of it either. Hey, Cameron. Hey, Maggie. And don't get mad at me. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, don't think I'm just coming up with it today because I blasted somebody on my little old live who thought that she was going to come for me. Is it another distraction? Is it another distraction? It's been coming on me. The only thing about that is it's been coming. It was probably, I would have expected it to come out probably last year. Or the year before, but it may be a distraction. It very well may be to justify how they handled Minnesota. I don't know, but I knew it was coming. So for folk who took advantage of it, who lied, manipulated, let them folk, I'm gonna say this, you better tell on whoever it is that filled out your paperwork. Please. It ain't gonna stop you from being convicted. It ain't gonna stop you from being in trouble. But don't let them get away with it. No, forget that. Hey, Sassafras. Yes, I mean him taking money and swapping out what was stolen by him. Yeah, and now they putting his sons on blast. They talked about Biden's son Hunter making money and stuff off of his daddy's name and shit. His son's making money off his name and the war. They all of a sudden have a drone business. They already got an oil business. That oil he was trying to steal from was Trump oil. Yeah, he doing side business east, baby. But let's move forward because I'm already late to the party. Yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. I mean, I know some people was getting in trouble, but they were saying, oh, they only want the people that got millions. No. 22.5 billion in delinquent Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, and the COV economic injury disaster loans that were previously flagged for suspicion of fraud during the Biden administration, but never sent to Treasury for collections, nor referred to the Department of Justice for investigation. Hey, Reflections of Kimberly. Hey, y'all coming in. It's 121, only 13 likes. Hit the like button, even if you don't like me. Yeah, respect the fact that whether I like you or not, I'm giving you the heads up. I'm giving you free game. I'm telling you now. And the minute, oh girl, that's what I was talking about. The girl, I tried to tell my sister, I shook my head. I said, girl, she in trouble. All of that, oh, I didn't know. My business part, oh yeah, I had billing, I did this. I said, girl, she, soon as they told her that she overbilled over $1 million and they asked her to put $1 million, 1 point something in an account that they had set up. her business partner put half and she put half. Soon as that money hit that account, guess what happened? They shut that account down. Bam! Fed shut it down. Bam! A week or two later, she woke up to go take her daughter to school. She saw them SWAT vans and helicopters, and they gearing up to kick that door in. Soon as they put that money in that account, bam, it was closed. So she had like a $1.5 million just to put in the account. She thought that was going to erase. She thought that was going to fix it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll give it back. Here. Okay. You damned if you do, you damned if you know. Once they know they got you, they got you. So, just be advised. Get your affairs in order. That's all I'm going to tell you. If you know you fudged it, he coming. He never liked you no way. Making America great again was not about making black folk rich. Never. When I say never, I do mean never. That was not the plan. Okay, so let me move on. But Pressure, thank you. I like that. It was the pipeline. It was a prison pipeline. Kim, I can't see you in the chat. Do you see me? Who is Kim? Oh, Reflection of Kimberly. You talking about Reflect? Hey, y'all hit the like button. Agreed, Pressure. Yeah. I'm so happy I put in the work and took a long scenic route in life. Yeah. You see things from a different angle. I agree. I can be honest enough to tell you, some time ago, I probably would have been like, okay, how much it costs? How much am I going to get? Yeah. I'd probably fell for the banana in the tailpipe too. But if you pay attention, you know, some of the same people that you went to let them help you get that, you know, milk the system and come up with 50 million reasons why it's okay for you to cheat the government, saying that, man, they owe us and they owe us 40 acres and a mule. And they do. But you can't get it the way you want to get it. And you can't justify fraud. They do it all the time. They do. But you see they graping kids and and unaliving them too. And the minute and putting it on the darker shades of the 50 Shades of Gray. I mean of brown. And they get away with it. It's the first time we done seen a president get charged and fingerprinted, and you know, we ain't seen him go to jail just yet, but this the first time we done seen a dirty one get caught. And they wouldn't let him out of it. He had to come up with cash. They wouldn't even get him a bond. He couldn't even, man, it's bad. So it is what it is. Y'all need to stop letting these people fill out paperwork on fraud to defraud the system, because it's a setup. And the systems are updated. And when I say that, I'm talking about the IRS, the housing, the food, those administrations that used to have those old outdated systems crash during the pandemic. They are in sync. And it's funny how they announced that right after tax season. Trump wife worked for Epstein as a, yep, absolutely, Michael. She was, you know, there's a possibility, you know, that when she came to the U.S., she came like some of those other people. We don't know just yet, but that's why they don't want them Epstein files to come out. There's a lot of stuff in there. Okay, y'all, let's hit the like button for me. Let's go on. I thought I would start out with the truth, get that on out the way. The White House task force eliminates fraud. Oh, what did it say? From day one, the Trump SBA has worked. No, that ain't from day one. Oh, shut up, lying now. Task force to eliminate fraud. Y'all the biggest fraudsters. So, you know, we ain't gonna fake the funk. But again, I'm gonna say, if they in his mind, if he, yeah, get them all. You know he trifling like that. It said we are taking our most decisive action yet to end a Biden-era scheme that protected over 560 borrowers. 560 borrowers. They have a number, y'all. Hold on. 560 of y'all. Tied to more than 22 billion. Just so you know, I'm not making it up. Because I can hear somebody saying, oh, she don't know. She don't know. She don't know what she's talking about. Contact Kelly. Yeah. Call Kelly and see if your name is on that list. Yeah. For the ones who gonna say, I don't know. See if you a part of that 506. Ain't that damn near everybody who was approved? Shit. Dang. 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 Let's go, y'all. Let your folk know. Start putting some money. I don't know. I don't know. Be prepared. Be prepared. Have a backup for your kids. Okay? Hundreds of whistleblowers. Oh, Lord. Let me cut this off. Y'all ready to go? I didn't even have that in my lineup. Hold on. What? Well, 560 hundreds of whistleblowers. Let's go, y'all. Y'all ready? Y'all ready?
Blowers who continue.
Ooh, we hit the like button. What time is it? 10:19. Okay, let's go.
Donald Trump and his weaponized Department of Justice are freaking out that there are multiple whistleblowers who continue to leak information to Democrats in the House of Representatives and to the press about the conduct of Donald Trump's weaponized DOJ.
Hey,
They're trying to
Power.
find who these so-called leakers are versus actually changing course and not violating the law. The most recent whistleblower leak involves
I'm so glad I'm not in that number.
to be deeply frivolous.
I ain't gonna even lie, empathy. You know, I ain't gonna even lie. I ain't gonna even lie, y'all. I am so glad that was so past that type of stuff. Do we need our prayer today? Do we need to start off in our prayer? I'm so glad. What's that old song? I'm so glad Jesus lifted me. I'm so glad Jesus lifted me. Yeah, I'm so glad that them banana in the tailpipes, man. I'm just so glad. I totally get that. Again, y'all know I'm big on the renewing of the mind. You got to change your ways, your mindset. You got to. You know, make excuses for getting over. I mean, we can come up with 50 million reasons to get over. And then when the people start talking about prison time, federal prison time, yeah, no, man. I would hate to be locked up going to prison under a president who trying to send people to foreign countries. And it's just, all of this is just so much unfamiliar territory. Some of this stuff, a lot of the stuff we just ain't used to. It is so unorthodox. I ain't gonna even lie. I ain't trying to really wish this on my worst enemy, but you know, some of these people come out talking crazy to you, and you just gotta, yeah, man. I'm gonna be honest. Auntie Fee don't wish this on her worst enemy. Now, Laquita, you know, no, we don't. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. I just would not. First of all, I don't want to go to prison. You know, hi Jordan. I just wouldn't want to have to go to prison. You know, and I dang sure wouldn't want to go to prison up under Trump administration. Everything is a big business to him. I just wouldn't. I don't trust none about it. None of it. I'm going to say it again. If you know, get your affairs in order, especially if you got kids. Especially if you got kids. Just come out with a plan, a master plan. Go with that. If anything ever happens, handle this, handle that, handle this. Here's this, here's that, here's this. I'm being honest. And I'm coming from a genuine place. Fred Trump about to... Don't make me laugh, Frank. Trump about to send the PPP scammers all the way to El Segundo, huh? Don't laugh at them. Where the sharks and crocodiles, ooh, I just would not. How many times Trump been impeached? I don't know. He don't care about none of that. He know he in trouble. He know them Epstein files coming. He know he about to be the first president of the United States to go to prison while he is active. He know. He faking the funk just like he was faking the funk like that war was over. Knowing good and dang well it wasn't. It was to milk the system. To milk the market. How dare you? Wake up. What you mean wake up? You telling me to wake up, or you telling the people who got off into that PPP and stuff, man? I know some people, man. I know some people. I know some people. Let's go.
Donald Trump and his weaponized Department of Justice are freaking out that there are multiple whistleblowers who continue to leak information to Democrats in the House of Representatives and to the press about the conduct of Donald Trump's weaponized DOJ. They're trying to find who these so-called leakers are versus actually changing course and not violating the law. The most recent whistleblower leak involves a case that appears now to be deeply frivolous, involving the Trump regime prosecuting the Southern Poverty Law Center in Alabama. We believe this entire prosecution is tainted by grand jury misconduct, as the Southern Poverty Law Center has raised numerous red flags in a court filing to a federal judge, saying that numerous false statements about their involvement with confidential informants have already been made in the underlying pleadings and in public that are just very easy to rebut. For example, Donald Trump's Department of Justice says the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, never informed the FBI, local police, or the Department of Justice about paying local confidential informants in various situations about these payments, or about the fact that the Southern Poverty Law Center was involved in an informant program in order to determine extremist groups that could be involved or were involved in very violent acts. And the SPLC says, what are you talking about? Like, we've literally worked with the prosecutors who are bringing this criminal case against us for over a decade. For decades, we've been working with you as your partners in this, whether it's like informal partners or whatever. Well, what do you mean? We've given you this information. We've prepared dossiers for you that have led to criminal prosecutions. And same thing with the FBI, same thing with local police. And before you went to the grand jury, when we became aware we were potentially targets of a frivolous criminal case, we then provided you with information again that showed you our program worked hand in hand with you. And so a whistleblower, though, went to Democratic Congressmember Jamie Raskin and informed Congressmember Raskin and other Democrats, because they're the only people who are going to listen to these whistleblowers at this point, that there seems to have been a rushed indictment of SPLC, and this was part of a broader plan that Attorney General Todd Blanche, or Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, wanted to endear himself to Donald Trump, to try to become the Attorney General after Pam Bondi was fired.
What if you could make a song using only your voice? Let's start with the drums. I'm gonna hit drums and click cover. Yes. This is good. Okay, perfect. I feel like the song needs a rhythm guitar. Dun, 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 dun. Changing it to guitar. I'm gonna type in rhythm guitar. Okay, I like this track. I'm gonna copy it to the main. All right, now we're adding some bass. Bum 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 bum. Okay, let's click on bass, and I'm gonna just click cover. Yes, I like this. Okay, good. All right, adding a synth for the chorus. Pulsing ambient synth. Ooh, that's awesome. Okay, I'm gonna copy the synth to the main track. Let's add a shaker.
What is this? I'm sorry.
This is the article from MS Now. It talks about this whistleblower letter. that there seems to have been a rushed indictment of SPLC, and this was part of a broader plan that Attorney General Todd Blanche, or Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, wanted to endear himself to Donald Trump, to try to become the Attorney General after Pam Bondi was fired. This is the article from MS Now. It talks about this whistleblower letter. DOJ rushed indictment of SPLC, according to whistleblower reports, after a whistleblower expressed concerns about the strength of the case against these civil rights organizations. Member of Congress have questions for prosecutors. A senior Trump administration Justice Department official ordered federal prosecutors in Alabama to rush through a controversial indictment of the Southern Poverty Law Center, despite concerns about the strength of the case, according to a description of a whistleblower account obtained by MS Now. Congressmember Raskin, a ranking Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, and Representative Mary Gay Scanlon, ranking Democrat on the subcommittee on the Constitution and Limited Government, described the whistleblower allegations in a letter sent Thursday to Kevin Davidson, the acting U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Alabama. According to whistleblower information provided to this committee, Associate Deputy Attorney General Singh ordered your office, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Alabama, to rush through the indictment of the SPLC, despite serious concerns about the strength of the case. The letter said. The letter asks Davidson to turn over records regarding his use of SPLC informants and information in criminal or civil matters from 1996 through 2026, as well as all communications, including emails, phone calls, and text messages among his office, among the top DOJ official Singh, who's very close to the Trump regime and has a high position at the DOJ, Justice Department leadership, and others from January 2025 concerning the investigation and indictment of the SPLC. And we've heard from current and former kind of Trump loyalists at the DOJ that they believe that this is part of the deep state whistleblower community that is working from within to undermine the Trump federal prosecutions, when in fact the Trump federal prosecutions undermine themselves by being part of a weaponized plan to grab headlines and capture a media cycle, but then quickly fall apart. I mean, y'all remember when Don Lemon was prosecuted, for example? Like, do we even talk about that anymore? They sure rushed to arrest him at the Grammys, but then, you know, after they capture the headline, the Trump regime DOJ is like, yeah, this is a complex case. We want to do we need a lot more time to prepare. Could we delay this case? And then it gets put on that kind of Trumpian litigation track that tries to then delay the cases forever while harming people's reputations. I want to bring in Harry Littman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds podcast. Now, Harry, this is one example we're highlighting of a whistleblower from within, someone who's currently working there, working confidentially with Democrats on the Judiciary, Oversight, and other committees. And you and I have done lots of videos about this mass exodus of DOJ lawyers, FBI agents, whether they've been fired or have quit or have been forced out. But there are lots of people who are staying in there, one, because they love their jobs and they just want to hang on for dear life. But I think other people view themselves as kind of guardians of the system from within, and and are helping from within. So you have a lot of that going on as well. What do you make of this all, Harry, both in terms of this specific case, but the broader issue of the Trump regime kind of freaking out over the idea, paranoia, whistleblower here, whistleblower there?
Excuse me, you're reading wrong. Show me your book.
So somebody working on the inside to help bring them down.
It really has been part and parcel of what they're doing more broadly. This case actually reminds me very much, even though the charges are different, of the Comey case that they brought a few days later. Both of them, besides being, completely empty and really have been laughed off within the community, they each say nothing about the central part of the evidence, anything about the actual supposed intent on Comey's part in here anything, I mean anything about a supposed fraudulent defrauding of, which is the theory here, of sponsors. You know, you need some evidence that they went to them and said, we're never going to work with the with informants in the offices of these extremist groups, and they lied about it. It seems completely far-fetched. On your second point of how paranoid they're being, you know, this is how a whistleblower program is supposed to work. We got similar information out of the Eastern District of Virginia when everyone stood down and said to Lindsay Halligan with the first Comey indictment, you better do that on your own, Ms. U.S. Attorney. We're not getting involved in such an obvious reprisal prosecution. And we have clearly the same thing here with the SPLC. The biggest point, even leaving aside that it's complete garbage of a case, it was for another reason, and this is part of what the whistleblower is saying, politicized. You have this fellow, Akash Singh. That's not just a stray name. He's turned up again and again. He is Todd Blanche's man on the ground for the U.S. attorney community. That's the sort of familiar post in the Deputy Attorney General's office. And under Blanche, it's the, brass knuckles enforcer. So he called up and said, not simply, trying to push by any objections. And how can you not have objections here? Because the case, really just doesn't begin to state a claim, but actually said, do it now. Put political pressure not only to do it, but to do it immediately for whatever political reasons they said. Finally, your point, and this is how Raskin responded. Raskin doesn't respond by saying, tell me everything you did in your inner deliberations. He's not going to get those, and he knows it. What he's saying is, and it goes just to the heart of the real meritlessness of the case. The SPLC has been telling you for years this is what we're doing. No one's tried to hide it. In fact, they've come to you with this information, including an actual meeting in your office. So he's saying to the U.S. attorney there, give me your information on that. Because that, by the way, excluded from the indictment, possibly excluded from the grand jury, but really puts the lie to the whole thing. It's already far-fetched in the extreme to think that somehow the SPLC had turned over its mission to trying to help the very groups it was sworn to combat. But it puts it into another universe if they were taking that information, bringing it to the department or local officers, which, by the way, would make all the sense in the world, because my last point for now is exactly what the FBI and DEA and local work do every single day. They infiltrate. How do people think you build cases against the mob? You make your way in, you find an informant, you pay that informant in some way. We don't say when that happens, the DOJ is actually funding the mob. It's ridiculous, and yet it's indistinguishable from this theory. So it's weak, really weak, 8 different ways, and there's can only be a sort of inference of political reprisal, or just, it's not even reprisal, right? It's just going against a perceived woke enemy. They did it in double time, and they did it arguably, and this is what Raskin wants to find out and why a whistleblower is there, even knowing but pretending not to know that this practice that they're saying actually helps extremist groups they've known about, and they've known about in the context of just what it was, an effort to fight them, the same kind of effort that federal law enforcement and state law enforcement make every day. This is a really sort of cynical, empty, totally political lawsuit at 8 different levels.
Yeah, you can't win a criminal prosecution or a civil lawsuit on your first day's headline. And Donald Trump is someone who wants to grab the headline, then do multiple headlines.
He needs to pay some of that. He needs some money to pay them.
What you say you're going to do.
Remember, he got that tariff money he got to pay back. He trying to come up with every way to pay back, to get money, And then he got somebody on the inside that's telling everything. Ooh, wee, man. Y'all hit the like button. Double tap the face of your screen if you're on your phone, or hit those three dots at the top right.
In the headline, and then distract and obscure with other headlines and hope people don't forget. Hope people forget about it. I mean, it's
Don Lemon, as you said, right?
Don, and there's so many other examples of that.
Yeah.
And he's okay with the case languishing while people are stewing now in these frivolous prosecutions. And frankly, it's kind of like what he views, America's power internationally, just to make this other kind of extension of this. It's, he views a war as a headline, say you won, and then move on, except there's lots of other factors and other people who are like, yeah, we're not moving on after you've engaged in all of this this conduct. And so, this is why the DOJ doesn't engage in litigation by headlines, and they're very careful. Yes, they'll do a very carefully written press release, one press conference, if that makes it that they're very careful. Allegedly, everybody presumed they're not out there tweeting and sending social media messages, and this is precisely why you don't do that. And even if you weren't the DOJ, as a former litigator, you're not going to win. Sure, is there press strategies that may be needed along the way? Yeah, but judges don't like it. It doesn't have a material impact at all on what happens in the courtroom. You got to focus on your jurors, the rules of evidence, win your case. After you win your case, Harry, you want to take a victory lap, you should do it with humility, but you don't do your victory lap before you win your case. I'll give you the final word.
Look, it's more than that judges don't like it. It's completely unethical. Why? It dirties up a defendant, which is exactly what they're trying to do, just leave this false impression. But it has really, as you say, Ben, been turned on its head. It's not simply that they are now violating left and right, the idea of not publicizing, not doing a headline on a case.
Hello?
Hey, Rebecca. It's that they're bringing cases that are only that. It's a headline without a body. They want that first hit. SPLC promotes extremism. Jim Comey trying to threaten the president. And there's nothing even behind it. All they get is that headline hit. And they really, at least Todd Blanche must know it. And that serves Trump's political purposes, even though it couldn't be farther from the notion that the Department of Justice is there to do justice without fear or favor. So they're not just dirtying them up in the press. They got nothing when it comes to court, and they're going to be embarrassed, but it's a price that they're obviously ready to pay if it gives Donald Trump the sort of short-term, oxygen, adrenaline rush of seeing his enemies tarred and feathered in the headlines of a newspaper.
It's fascinating, Harry. I referenced this at the outset, but all of these MAGA personalities just posting that it's the Democrats are interfering with this criminal investigation, whether it's Julie Kelly. Oh, look, Democrats have a whistleblower claiming that Akash Singh, whom FK refers to as Blanche's enforcer, like it's a bad thing, pressured the U.S. attorney to charge SPLC. Never mind, a grand jury found enough evidence to hand up an indictment, and we need thousands more like Akash Singh or Mike Davis. Better question, why are these Democrats obstructing justice by illegally interfering with an ongoing federal criminal prosecution? Or Jared Wise. During my time as a Trump political appointee at the DOJ, information from my emails was continually leaked to the media after the New York Times revealed that I, as a former J6 defendant, was working as a senior advisor to the Deputy Attorney General. So he's like, by the way, the weird that a J6 guy is working. Whatever. But that's what they are saying right now, and so that's what their focus is on, not the underlying merits of the case.
That's
so anyway,
right. Well, two very quick points, which is just what they said. First, you're supposed to have whistleblowers because there's a program that Congress has established to try to deal with improprieties with the oversight committees and doing it right. That's exactly what it is. But second, the idea, we're now back to the idea that, a grand jury did it, so that must suffice. You and I have been there. It's true that there's been some stunning episodes in which they couldn't even get things by a grand jury. But we just got to understand the idea that a grand jury signed off on a prosecutor's proposed indictment means basically nothing. It's only not happened to me, not to me, but to anyone I ever supervised in one case in my career. It really just doesn't advance the ball, and that's what they're now depending on. You know, really, it's the sort of last refuge of prosecutorial scoundrels.
Everybody, make sure you subscribe to Harry Littman's YouTube, Talking Feds, on YouTube. He also has the Substack and the podcast called Talking Feds. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Ben.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive.
Ooh-wee, let's go. Let's go. Hold on. He loses it. Hold on. Hold on. What was this surprise ruling? Let's go. So,
Names going micro.
yeah, I need for y'all to hit the like button, support the platform.
GOP ones.
Medication, abortion pills, that led
I don't know if I want to hear that. I know that there was a Supreme Court ruling, block dangerous lower court ruling. Yeah, but right now that's not what I want to be on. I want to stick to what's.
So we're really happy to have you here. There is a
Hold on. I wanna get this before he removes it. I need the likes up.
Now look, I want to talk to you about something that in my years in public life, I have rarely seen unfold quite like this. And I say that as someone who sat behind the desk in the Oval Office for 8 years, who dealt with crises that kept me up at night, and who knows what it means when a president puts his name on a letter to Congress. On Friday, May the 2nd, 2026, President Trump sent formal letters to Speaker Johnson and Senator Grassley, stating, and I quote, "The hostilities that began on February 28, 2026 have terminated." Now that is not a tweet. That is not a rally line. That is a legal communication under the War Powers Act. It carries weight. It starts constitutional clocks. It tells the world that America's commander-in-chief has assessed the battlefield and concluded the fighting is done. 72 hours later, Iran fired cruise missiles at American warships. They launched 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones at the United Arab Emirates. They hit the Fujairah oil industry zone. They attacked a South Korean cargo ship. And Admiral Brad Cooper, the head of Central Command, declined to say whether the ceasefire was still alive. Let me tell you something. When a president's word to Congress cannot survive a single weekend, we are not just looking at a military problem.
We're in trouble.
We are looking at a credibility problem. And credibility, friends, is not a partisan issue. It is the currency of American power. And that letter to Congress, we'll come back to that in a moment, because it matters more than you think. Now, to understand what happened on May the 4th, you have to understand how we got here. And I want to walk you through this carefully, because context is not a luxury in a crisis. It is a necessity. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched joint military strikes against Iran. Iran retaliated. They struck back at U.S. allies across the Persian Gulf. And then they did something that changed the strategic map.
Oh my.
They seized effective control of the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage through which
So when you hear Trump's cabinet say that they are in control of it, it's a lie. I need for y'all to double tap or I'm gonna shut it down now. I'm an hour and 5 minutes in. There's 204 people in here. I don't even want to tell you how many likes it is. Get them up, and I mean get them up now. Or we can say goodnight, and we can try again tomorrow. Double tap. And hit those 3 dots at the top right.
roughly one tweet that is not a me up at night, and who knows what it means when a president puts his name on a letter to Congress. On Friday, May the 2nd,
How big got Craig?
2026, President Trump sent formal letters to Speaker Johnson and Senator Grassley, stating, and I quote, "The hostilities that began on February 28, 2026 have terminated." Now that is not a tweet. That is not a rally line. That is a legal communication under the War Powers Act. It carries weight. It starts constitutional clocks. It tells the world that America's commander-in-chief has assessed the battlefield and concluded the fighting is done. 72 hours later, Iran fired cruise missiles at American warships. They launched 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones at the United Arab Emirates. They hit the Fujairah oil industry zone. They attacked a South Korean cargo ship. And Admiral Brad Cooper, the head of Central Command, declined to say whether the ceasefire was still alive. Let me tell you something. When a
Hey, Jay
president's word
Harris.
to Congress cannot survive a single weekend,
Jay Harris said, get
we are
them
not
likes
just
up.
looking at a military problem.
And he looking at
We are
y'all.
looking at a credibility problem. And credibility, friends, is not a partisan issue. It is the currency of American power. And that letter to Congress, we'll come back to that in a moment, because it matters more than you think. Now, to understand what happened on May the 4th, you have to understand how we got here. And I want to walk you through this carefully, because context is not a luxury in a crisis. It is a necessity. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched joint military strikes against Iran. Iran retaliated. They struck back at U.S. allies across the Persian Gulf. And then they did something that changed the strategic map. They seized effective control of the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage through which roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply travels every single day. A ceasefire came on April the 8th. President Trump extended it indefinitely on April 21. But here is the thing I want you to understand. A ceasefire without a diplomatic framework is not peace. It is a pause. It is a ticking clock, not a resolution. I know this from experience. When we dealt with Kosovo, when we managed the Iraq no-fly zones, when we responded to the embassy bombings in 1998, we never confused the absence of shooting with the presence of a solution. Deterrence without diplomacy is like locking the front door but leaving every window wide open. Iran never lifted its grip on Hormuz. Hundreds of ships sat stranded. Crews ran low on food and supplies. A dual blockade, ours on their ports, theirs on the Strait, brought global shipping to a near standstill. And that is the powder keg into which Project Freedom was announced. And this is where things start to get complicated. Let me lay out the facts as clearly as I can, because in times like these, the facts have to come first. On Sunday, May 3rd, President Trump announced Project Freedom, a military operation to guide stranded commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. 15,000 service members, guided missile destroyers, over 100 aircraft. Iran immediately declared this a violation of the ceasefire. Monday morning, it began. Central Command confirmed 2 U.S.-flagged commercial vessels transited the Strait under Navy escort, but Iran responded with force. They fired cruise missiles and drones at American warships. Admiral Brad Cooper confirmed all threats were defeated. U.S. attack helicopters sank 6 Iranian fast boats that were targeting civilian vessels. Then Iran turned on the UAE. 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, 4 drones, the first attack on a Gulf ally since the ceasefire began. Fire broke out at the Fujairah oil industry zone. 3 Indian nationals were injured. An ADNOC tanker was targeted by drones. A South Korean cargo ship was hit by what may have been an explosion or an external attack, still under investigation. Admiral Cooper declined to confirm whether the ceasefire still held. Bloomberg reported at least 13 ships diverted from the area after Iran expanded its maritime control zone. And an Iranian lawmaker declared the Strait of Hormuz, quote, will never return to its pre-war conditions. That is not bluster. That is a position hardening by the hour. Now here is where I have to speak plainly, and I want to be fair. Let me start by giving credit where it is due. 2 ships got through the Strait safely. The defensive military performance was strong. Our sailors and service members did their jobs with precision. That matters. But leadership is not measured only by what goes right in the moment. It is measured by the sequence of decisions that led to the moment. And that sequence concerns me deeply. President Trump told Congress hostilities had terminated, a formal legal finding. While the Strait of Hormuz remained under Iranian control, hundreds of ships sat stranded, and Iran had made no diplomatic concessions. Then he announced Project Freedom without coordinating with the shipping industry. Jacob Larson of BEMCO, the Global Shipping Association, said the announcement left companies scrambling for details. France's President Macron publicly refused to participate, calling the operations framework unclear. That is an ally declining to stand with us, not because they oppose the goal, but because the plan was not built to include them. And then there was the rhetoric. The president told Fox News that Iran would be blown off the face of the earth if they targeted our ships. Iran targeted our ships anyway. When you make a threat that enormous and your adversary calls your bluff within hours, you have not projected strength.
Right.
You have narrowed your own options. When
Steady
I dealt with
punking
Iraq
us.
in 1998, we built multilateral pressure. We went through the UN. We sequenced our actions. Leadership is not about the loudest threat. It is about the smartest sequence. And you must always leave your adversary a door to walk through. Now I want to focus on something that goes beyond any one president and speaks to the health of our democratic system. And I say this not as a partisan. I say this as a former president who swore the same oath. The War Powers Act exists for a reason. When a president tells Congress that hostilities have terminated, that is a legal determination. It affects funding authorizations. It starts constitutional timelines. It signals to our allies, to our adversaries, and to our own military what the state of play is. President Trump's letter said, and I quote, "There has been no exchange of fire between the United States forces and Iran since April 7, 2026. That may have been technically accurate on the day it was written. But when cruise missiles are flying at American destroyers 72 hours later, the institutional communication between the executive and legislative branches has been fundamentally undermined." And here is something else that troubled me. Admiral Cooper, the head of Central Command, was asked directly whether the ceasefire was still intact. He said, quote, "I wouldn't go into details of whether the ceasefire is over or not." Now that is a military commander declining to validate the political framing of his commander-in-chief. That kind of gap between the White House and the Pentagon is not healthy for any administration of any party. This is not about attacking one man. This is about protecting the architecture of trust between our branches of government. Because once that architecture cracks, it does not matter who is president. We all lose. We have got to remember something. When we talk about oil prices and shipping lanes and military operations, we are really talking about people, families, working folks trying to fill up their gas tanks and put food on the table. On the day of these strikes, Brent crude jumped above $111 a barrel. The national average gas price hit $4.46. S&P futures dipped, markets rattled, and Treasury Secretary Bessent went on television and said prices would come down in a matter of weeks or a month. Now that is a political gamble with American families' budgets. I balanced the federal budget. I presided over the longest peacetime economic expansion in American history at the time. And I never did it by gambling on a military operation to fix an oil price. Economic confidence is built on predictability, credibility, and sound strategy, not on hoping a naval escort mission through a mined waterway goes smoothly. Here is my deeper concern. When a conflict starts to become about one leader's personal credibility, about whether his threats were called or his predictions came true. The country loses its ability to make wise, dispassionate decisions. National interest gets tangled up with political survival. I want to be clear. Iran's behavior is aggressive, illegal, and unacceptable. Their attacks on commercial shipping are piracy. But effective strategy requires both strength and wisdom. You need the iron fist, yes, but you also need the open hand. And right now I see a lot of fist and very little hand. Now let me tell you what I think happens from here. And I see three possible roads. The first road is escalation, a full reopening of hostilities. Iran has already struck the UAE for the first time since the ceasefire. Hezbollah's leader just rejected the Lebanon ceasefire. Iran's parliament has declared the Strait will never go back to how it was. If we respond to every provocation with overwhelming force and no diplomacy, we risk a broader regional war that could draw in actors nobody wants at the table. Secretary Hegseth is briefing the Pentagon. CENTCOM is talking about a final blow. That language worries me. The second road is a frozen conflict. The Strait stays contested. Oil prices stay high. The global economy adjusts painfully around a permanent choke point. Ships reroute. Insurance premiums skyrocket. And American consumers pay the price at the pump for months, maybe years. That is the worst kind of outcome. Not war, not peace, just slow economic bleeding. The third road is diplomatic resolution, and I believe it is still possible, but the window is narrowing every single day. Pakistan has been mediating. They just facilitated the transfer of 22 crew members from a seized Iranian vessel. Iran submitted a 14-point proposal. These are thin threads, but they are real. They can be woven into something if leadership prioritizes results over rhetoric. That Iranian lawmaker who said the Strait will never go back to how it was, that is not just bluster. That is a negotiating position that hardens every day we do not engage. And we need to engage now. Let me close with this. Whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, whether you voted for this president or not, there is something we all have to agree on. America's word has to mean something. When a president tells Congress the war is over and the world watches it resume in 72 hours, something is damaged. When a president threatens total destruction and the adversary attacks anyway, our deterrence is weakened. When an ally like France refuses to join an operation because the framework seems unclear, our coalition building capacity has eroded. These are not partisan observations. These are facts about American credibility on the world stage. But here is what I also believe, and I believe it with everything I have. America has corrected course before. We have come through moments of institutional stress, strategic miscalculation, and broken trust. The institutions are strained right now, but they are not broken. The solution is not more threats. It is not louder
That's all
rhetoric.
you know.
It is the hard, quiet, patient work of diplomacy backed by military strength, backed by allied unity, backed by a president whose word to Congress and to the world can be trusted. That is how we won the Cold War. That is how we navigated every crisis I managed from the Oval Office. And that is how we will navigate this one. But we have got to start now. Not after the next missile, not after the next escalation.
Now.
Now. Because every day we delay, the positions harden, the options narrow, and the cost in treasure, in credibility, and God forbid in lives goes up. Thank you for listening. And God bless the United States.
My wife was a size 6 when we got married.
Yeah.
By
Hey,
44,
Joe.
she's a size 14. Same woman. Same.
Not a bot. Y'all to get the likes up. My battery's
You know, I've been
low.
around politics
Hold
a long time.
on. Gum boots. Hello. Hold on. Finger on the trigger. Hold on. 229. I need the likes
Either
up.
rational leadership.
Keep your calls coming in because I know from previous experience that our next guest will be as thought-provoking as any guest in the whole wide world could be. He is the academic superstar. He is the man in demand, and he's kindly agreed to join us again. It is Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Professor,
Hey,
there's
Professor.
so much I'd like to talk to you about, but let me start with the kinetics, as our friend Garland Nixon put it just half an hour ago on the show. The kinetics look like they're about to restart. The kinetics of military power that is being resupplied, built up at a rate of knots. The pieces are all in place, and Trump has rejected the Iranian
He's
peace
not
plan.
feeding
So
our
my first
troops.
question, is the war about to restart, in your opinion?
Probably
Oh, yeah.
so. Probably so. As insane as it is, nothing good, of course, has come from anything that's happened up until now. And anything that follows with more war will be disastrous.
Hold on.
We've already seen that the United States and Israel cannot achieve anything positive, even for their own objectives, much less for the world. And yet, it is likely that it's going to start again. There are some specific issues of timing. Trump's supposed to be in China in just a short time, in about 2 weeks. Does he want to go with a disastrous war?
He don't care.
Maybe even the meeting again would not happen in those circumstances. So he's got other things on his mind, but everything points to a resumption of fighting because Trump is that stupid.
You see, I was schooled, not formally, but informally schooled, in the belief that great men don't make history, that history follows a more scientific path. Maybe I was taught wrongly, but that's what I was taught. And yet this war seems to be entirely dependent on the personality of Donald Trump. He's not a great man.
Personality? Do he really have a personality? Y'all need for y'all to get the likes up. Personality. There you go. It's already been hit. Y'all see this? They have already hit. And he acting like he in charge, like he in control of what's going on. He is never honest. A renegger. Oh yeah, I forgot. He's a renegger. He reneges on everything. Yeah, then that's because you one of them people. If you agree with him, you one of them people. You talking about you agree with Trump? Who you believe in?
And of course, great men don't make history. That history follows a more scientific path. Maybe I was taught wrongly, but that's what I was taught. And yet this war seems to be entirely dependent on the personality of Donald Trump. He's not a
Yeah,
great
and that's
man,
horrible.
of course, but he is a big man. And he is a man with a great deal of power right
No,
now
he didn't.
at this historic moment. Because the
This is
markets
crazy.
can't want a war. The oil market can't
We're
want a
finna
war.
suffer. We're already in a
Industry,
recession.
can't want a war. The economic captains
I think I bought 11
of
things
our
at the grocery store and it
industrial
was like
heartlands
almost
and so they
$200.
cannot want a war. We're told the American officer class doesn't want a war. And so if there is a war, it seems to rest on the tortured, fevered speculation and social media ramblings and so on of one individual. How can that be?
Well, at first, there are two crazy individuals here. There's Trump and there's Netanyahu.
Oh yeah,
They're both nuts.
they're both evil.
Pathological liars.
Yeah.
They are both psychopaths, actually, meaning that they kill and they inflict harm without any remorse, actually any normal human emotion, I would say. So we have two folie à deux, as the psychiatrists call it, and they play off of each other. Israel definitely wants this war to restart. They say so without any equivocation. The Minister of War in Israel, the Minister of Defense, says, yes, the war should start again. This is Israel's dream, that the United States military will defeat Iran so that Israel can have military hegemony throughout the Middle East and West Asia. So they're egging this on. Then there are parts of our corporate military industrial complex definitely egging this on. Strangely enough, or maybe not strangely enough, in Silicon Valley, which has become basically
has attacked
the
a commercial
heartland
vessel
of
in
the
the
new
Strait of
military
Hormuz.
industrial complex. George, they want to test their new
Trump's
weapons. They want to
weakness is
test
showing.
their AI systems. They want to test their
So it
drones.
must
They
have
want to
been
test
us.
an AI-enabled battleground. And I mean it in a literal sense. You can't have all those weapons developed without trying them. It's not good enough to do a simulation. We want to see how many people can be killed, whether you can really control the airspace. So
Why he just
whether you
said
can
yesterday
really
that
do
there was
AI-based
no
targeting.
fire
Yeah, you kill some
exchange,
schoolgirls,
no
but
missiles.
come on, this
And he
is
was
all
talking
in,
that talk.
in the process of learning.
And they said,
So
oh, okay, every time he
Palantir is
bragged
our
like
most
that,
visible
and
part of the
style,
military
we're
industrial
gonna make him look
complex now.
stupid.
But every major AI big tech company is deeply engaged with the Pentagon now. They want this war because it's business, but more than that, it's improving their models. It's improving their future contracts. It's demonstrating
Iran
what can be done.
on the
And
hill.
so I think
It says Iran opened fire on U.S. warships, 6 small boats destroyed in retaliation.
A lot of the Pentagon, maybe not the ones that have to command troops, but a lot of the Pentagon that's interested in procurement, that's interested in technology, wants this war to continue. Then, of course, we have the individual personalities, and you raise a very important question. Do individuals make a difference? Well, when there are systems, the answer is no, not so much. But we have completely broken all rational systems in the United States. And by that I mean the actual processes of decision making are quite exposed right now, and they rest with Trump. It's weird, but it's not an exaggeration.
He held
We
bent
know
on
a
destroying
lot
the U.S.
about how this war started
for
on
Israel.
February 28th. Netanyahu
And himself.
the head of Mossad came and gave a bullshit story to Trump. Trump was a fool enough to buy it or to go along with it, given his range of pressure points and interests and delusions. Everyone else in this small room basically thought it was nuts, except for Hegseth, who's an absolute blooming idiot right alongside Trump. And so the
And they say he
Pentagon,
finna fire him.
chief of staff, not interested. CIA thought it was a bad idea. The vice president of the United States openly has said this is a bad idea. Rubio, completely worthless, a joke, unfortunately. We don't have any diplomacy. Susan Wiles, chief of staff, I don't know if she played a role. Jared Kushner, come on. And Steve Witkoff, that's the team. We're not talking about interagency process. We're not talking about intelligence estimates. We're not talking about a plan. We're not talking about the President of the United States consulting with congressional leaders. We're not talking about American public opinion, which runs overwhelmingly against everything that is happening. So we're talking about a few people led by a delusional old man who never was very good at anything, but is very bad at this. And even in the room of sycophants that he has, no one believed it except perhaps Hegseth, who is his own special case in all of this. So there's no process.
And all of them who is for it play with kids, play with taking somebody's
decisions. He violates the Constitution because the Constitution says in the United States under Article 1 that it's only Congress that can declare war. But most presidents have ignored that. Trump completely, brazenly, and almost, no members at all of Trump's own party in the Republican leadership murmur even a word about consultation, much less congressional constitutional responsibility. Netanyahu's his own case. He's a very, very dark, pathological figure. I've called him a son of a bitch in the past, and I feel that that's a mild description for a mass murderer, actually. So this is what we have. We do not have either rational leadership or a rational process. I think either country, the U.S. or Israel. Israel, actually both countries add a strain of religious zealotry, which is also pretty strange in the year 2026 for two nuclear-armed countries. But it's not an incidental part of this story also. Certainly not in the Israeli case. even if that's just part of a political coalition. It's two of the three leaders in Israel are messianic zealots who read from a genocidal account of Israel's conquest of Canaan in the book of Joshua and take that as a literal text for what Israel should be doing right now. The United States sent an ambassador to Israel, Mr. Huckabee, who says out loud exactly that he agrees with that approach. So this is another aspect of the irrationality that we're facing.
Peculiarity indeed, and unlucky we are to be alive at this. Maybe we won't be for very much longer.
Well, we want to stay alive.
Right.
We want to stay alive. Our friend Tucker Carlson, a not inconsiderable man, said today that spending a day with Donald Trump is peculiarly intoxicating. He seems to have a kind of spell that creates an atmosphere around him, and before you know it, he said,
Is he real?
I've never smoked marijuana, but he said it's a bit like being under the influence of marijuana. A day on the hash is how he described a day with Donald Trump. I don't know if you recognize that. I would have thought myself, looking from the far outside, that Donald Trump is a vulgar bore. He certainly wouldn't mesmerize me. But if he could mesmerize someone as considerable as Tucker Carlson, maybe I've judged him wrongly.
Well, I've never been with Trump, and certainly watching him from the outside, he's deeply pathological. I agree with a very long list of distinguished psychologists and psychiatrists that say he has the so-called dark triad personality of narcissism, of psychopathy, of megalomania. He has been called by very important forensic psychiatrists a malignant narcissist, which was a term invented for Hitler. Hitler had a charisma.
That's what he want to be. He like
to
that.
use Max Weber's sociological idea. He attracted followers. Some of the sickest people in.
This is Honey with Superpowers by Manakora. It's your daily
Lights
dose
up,
of wellness
please.
and the most delicious.
German society of the day. And Trump attracts people too. He has a following. The following is a minority of Americans. Most Americans find Donald Trump repulsive. His approval rating right now is, according to the latest Ipsos Reuters poll, 34% approval, and I believe it's 62% disapproval. And when the disapprovals are queried, it's strong disapproval for most of those disapprovals. In other words, most Americans find Donald Trump repulsive, actually, not charismatic. This is important. He is doing what he's doing, not because of American jingoism, not because American society is calling for it, not because of selling a story of glory to the American people. He's doing this as a one-person act, or two-person act if you count Netanyahu in this. And Americans are deeply against this. But to come back to your opening question, if he actually goes forward, I think the point that many people have been telling Trump, which is that within a couple of weeks of such a decision, the world could be irreparably damaged, is really the point for us. Because the next round of fighting, if there is going to be one, and it looks likely, will lead to massive destruction. of the physical infrastructure of the whole Gulf region. And no doubt Iran has all of its targets set. And they will aim to show, as best they can, deterrence. And they have thousands of missiles left, and it doesn't take much to knock out desalination plants, oil and gas fields, refineries, ports, pipelines, civilian infrastructure linked to all of that. It could happen in hours or days, which is why there was a pause in the first place. This is a losing story. This is a disaster. Nothing was accomplished by the fighting.
Wow.
And Trump
KJ
was
Dubs.
forced in a way to understand that, even if he doesn't accept that. Nothing was accomplished. And we sit here now with oil prices at about $115 a barrel. If the shooting resumes, it will soar. That will look like nothing compared to what will come in a resumption of a shooting war. But even at $115 a barrel, which is at least a 50% increase of oil prices from what they were on February 27 before the war started, this is already creating grave economic harms all over the world. But what will happen if the shooting starts again will make what's happened to date look insignificant.
Indeed, I wanted to move on to that field. Leaving the Gulf itself for a minute, we'll come back to it, and going downstream. Downstream, where I live, or at least ordinarily live, in Britain, in Europe, it's difficult to overstate the catastrophe that is coming down that pipeline, down that strait, towards us.
I agree,
We are already
Gumboots.
in the apparently gravest economic difficulty, and I'm thinking that economic life as we know it will effectively cease across much of Europe. If we are talking of oil at $150 to $200 a barrel, or maybe unavailable at all, well, certainly any factory I've ever worked in will have to cease its activity, and the economy in general will simply seize up for want of the greatest essentials. Agriculture is already in crisis, even in your country, because the fertilizer that comes down the Strait of Hormuz also. There are many things, not just oil, gas, fertilizer, minerals, so many things will simply cease to be available, and the supply chain will be completely broken, won't it?
Of course, we will have a catastrophic outcome. And if, unlike the previous disruptions to oil supplies from this region, which were famous in the 1970s, one after the 1973 war, and one after the Iranian Revolution in 1979. Those were huge negative shocks to the world economy, which were disruptive for years and in some ways through debt crises for decades to come for some countries. But what happened then was a temporary closing of the spigot. What would happen now, most likely within 2 or 3 weeks, is a destruction of the spigot itself that could not be replaced for 5, 10 years of physical rebuilding. And even then, the investments that would be needed to do that and the perilous nature of such investments after just having been blown up would put everything in doubt. So we're talking about something that has not happened since World War II. And I think the crisis that would come within a short period of time would be comparable let me put it a different way, would be larger than anything that has happened since the Second World War, all of the big crises that we've had. And what happens, as you know, is not only would, of course, the economies be deeply disrupted, but then come the financial crises that follow, because all of the outstanding lending and borrowing and investments that have come have been predicated on a completely different set of assumptions from the ones that would prevail. So there would be bankruptcies galore. Our governments will find the interest costs on massive debts that they have accumulated over the last 20 years soaring. This will create currency crises. This will create banking crises.
Fresh, chef-made meals delivered right to your door with calories and macros listed on every dish. For dinner, I'm having Chinese-style drunken chicken by Chef James Grody.
Double tap.
Only a complete ignoramus and idiot would restart the fighting again. But as I said, it's likely. This is the paradox right now. It's likely that absolutely the dumbest imaginable thing one could do is actually odds on.
Now, I said we'll come back to the Gulf, and I promise we will, but I'm interviewing you now from Moscow. Our preparations are heavily underway for Victory Day celebration, parade, and so on. I attended the Victory Museum the other day, and I made the point as I was coming out that the Victory Museum, that Russophobia does not survive a visit to the Victory Museum. The cost of the World War II to the people of this part of the world was, of course, greater than any other, and the contribution
and by the way,
to the defeat
and the shame of it that we in the United States or in Britain or in continental Europe are so nasty not to recognize that fact that the Soviet Union lost 27 million people defeating Hitler and bore the brunt of it, and then would not even show up to the 80th anniversary of the defeat of Hitler because it was Russia. But Russia defeated Hitler, bearing the vast
get the lights up, please.
Brunt of the war. And this shows the mindlessness of our countries, actually, of our leadership. How cruel, by the way. Same with China. Lost an estimated 14 million people in Japan's invasion. And when China had the 80th anniversary of the defeat of Japan, no Western government would show up. The ingratitude, the lack of the most basic decency and historical knowledge is really something disgusting on our side. And then Trump, because I hate to come back to him in this context, but he says, yes, we defeated Hitler and Russia helped. I mean, it just is the cruelty of the stupidity, because there's stupidity, of course, but it's so stupid it becomes absolutely cruel in its stupidity. That's where we are. Anyway, I
It's
interrupted.
quite
Sorry.
toxic. No, not at all. No, fascinating that you did. I've written a piece for the Chinese media tomorrow because this is the eve of the Tokyo trials. Of course, are long forgotten in the West. I suspect even by academics, in which and are never referred to. I mean, the Nuremberg trials aren't referred to all that often, but far more often than the Tokyo trials.
Absolutely.
All kinds of bizarre things happened in the Tokyo trials. First of all, it was like Hitler being exempted from the Nuremberg trial. Hirohito was exempted and was allowed to live out his life with everyone calling him emperor. The Unit 731 that conducted hideous biological experiments on Chinese prisoners and civilians was allowed to trade the results of those experiments with the Americans in return for their freedom from prosecution. I don't want to give away too much of my
George,
article, but yeah.
No, but just
go on,
incidentally, in the German context, the U.S. hired those very scientists, and the program was called Operation Paperclip, which is refers to the fact that when Nazi scientists were to be brought to the United States, and the State Department was objecting, but the military wanted these
New Zealand
scientists
Fuel
because they knew how to
375.
torture people. They knew all of these experiments, these absolutely
That's
gruesome,
good.
grotesque experiments. You put a paperclip on their file, and that would tell the State Department, keep your hands off. This is the military or the CIA. We're bringing them in. And this is recounted in an incredible book by a wonderful reporter named Annie Jacobson about Operation Paperclip. So it's the same with Japan. We not only exonerated these scientists, we hired them. They became the head of our military research programs, these Nazi scientists.
Incredible. We're supposed to love Japan now and hate China. And love Germany and hate Russia. For someone my age, that's an impossible ask, actually, having grown up in the shadow of the Second World War as I...
And if I could say something about that, George, can I just add one more word about that, because I feel very strongly about it.
Sure.
I want Japan, which I like. I like many Japanese. I have many friends, colleagues. We've lived in Japan. I want them to say, sorry, we were responsible for killing 14 million people in China, and we have no animus against China. Indeed, we don't want to be divided by the United States in some geopolitical game anymore. I would like Japan and China actually to work together. I would like Germany not to be playing games with, let's say, revanchist or revenge thoughts, which they flirt with right now, and rather say, we're sorry, 27 million dead, and isn't it really time that the Chancellor of Germany and the President of Russia sit down and start again a normal, peaceful, indivisible security for Europe and put the United States out of this? Maybe Trump did, I think he did a favor. I wish Germany would take it up when Trump said we're withdrawing 5,000 troops. If the German Chancellor had any sense, he would say, take them all home. We don't want to be occupied. It's 81 years since the war ended. And I'm going to go visit my counterpart, President Putin, and we're going to make peace on our continent finally the right way. So instead of the United States siding with the aggressors of World War II against the countries that actually were the allies in World War II, we should, in the United States, get the heck out of both regions, and both regions should understand that their real security comes not from something like NATO, God forbid, or American military bases in Japan. Their real security comes from making peace with their neighbors. That's where security comes from, not from an American military sitting there. And if the Gulf countries had learned that too, they wouldn't be in the disastrous situation they're in right now.
If there's any redeeming feature in Donald Trump, it is that he seems not to want war with Russia for whatever reason. And many speculate on what that reason might be. I have no idea. But
I'm going to ask y'all one more time to get the likes up.
The Ukraine war to come to an end, and that it is others who are determined that it should continue, but others being in his own circle.
Hello? Lights up, please. I'm not going to even try to echo. I guess that's what I'm going to say. Game over. What? Hello? How you doing? Double tap the face of your phone if that's how you're ear hustling. Hit those three dots at the top right corner. Or leave. Double tap your face of your phone. It's no charge. It's free. Get out. I don't care. Leave. Get out. Next time I have to keep asking that, I'm going to be out.
Congress and the military
I got the tea.
complex.
Y'all want to continue to believe the lies.
In the European governments. Do you think what was established at Alaska, the spirit of Alaska, the spirit of Anchorage in a big full-dress summit between Putin and Trump, is that dead, or does it still have legs?
Well, the problem, among other things, is first the constituency for war in the U.S., in Britain, especially in Britain perhaps, and in Germany, is very strong. And so it would take a highly competent American president to say no and explain why to the American people. Trump is fundamentally incompetent. This is a big part of the story. Trump has never had a coherent explanation to the American public about this issue that we're talking about. There's been no speech to say the war should stop because NATO enlargement wasn't a good idea or because there could be an alternative security arrangement. He's not smart enough, unfortunately, to give the speech, and he doesn't have anyone around him to write it and put it on the damn teleprompter and get it done. So I think you're right. It was my sense, too, that he didn't want this war to continue. But when he started to say it should stop, then you had on a bipartisan basis in the U.S. Senate, no, the war must go on. We're defending freedom. Selling military goods. You had the Democrat like Richard Blumenthal, senator from Connecticut, and Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, from the Republican side, demanding war, more war. And then, of course, Britain is the most Russophobic country in modern history. By the way, for no reason. If you go back historically, it's a fascinating phenomenon. British Russophobia, which dates from around 1840. But the British imperial rulers got the idea that Russia was the big threat to the British Empire and concocted every crazy story about Russians passing through the Khyber Pass to invade the Indian subcontinent. And they concocted the Crimean War in 1853, Lord Palmerston, all with Russophobia. Well, that Russophobia has continued actually until today. And someone as incompetent as Starmer, and it's a long list of incompetence, they're all Russophobic. And Merz, come on, if you're a German chancellor.
This is how to lose cortisol fat in 28 days. Do these 4 Tai Chi moves every morning for 3 minutes each.
I'm 53 and today I'm done with the gym, starting Tai Chi at home. This is me after 28 days. My back pain is gone. I forgot what that felt like.
May 4th, we're starting the Tai Chi program for beginners. Build strength and lose up belly fat. With just 7 minutes a day in 1 week, you'll feel it. In 2 weeks, you'll see it. In a month, you'll be turning heads. Start May 4th.
Are you kidding? Do you have any understanding of the right kind? That you have a certain responsibility to actually address this issue from a historical and a realistic point of view. Germany had such chancellors with Willy Brandt and Helmut Schmidt and Helmut Kohl. And Angela Merkel got it, but she was too weak. She was bowled over in the end by the American presidents. But basically, this guy is unreal. I don't know where I got to on this rant, except that the Russophobia is so blinding, and it's for Britain. It's been, I know where we were. It's been 180 years. I was going to mention, by the way, there was a wonderful book written in 1950, which I had the chance to read a few years ago, which I discovered only a few years ago, by a historian who asked the question, where did this Russophobia come from? And he posed the question. He said in 1815, Britain and Russia were allies against Napoleon. And then 25 years later, Britain was a staunch Russophobic country, and Russia had done nothing. So what happened? Where did it come from? So he read everything, every speech in the parliament, every magazine article and so forth. And the conclusion of the book, no reason. It just was invented. And it was basically this confabulation of Russia as the great medieval, oriental, eastern threat to the British Empire. And it's continued for 180 years since then. Now, you asked me about Trump. He was not strong enough, knowledgeable enough, capable enough to be a good president, which would require skill, actually, to manage this. The president would have to speak over the heads of the military-industrial complex to the American public to explain to them this war made no sense. It should stop. It could stop. Russia's not going to invade Western Europe. That's not the issue. But we don't have to put NATO into Ukraine because that's a provocation that we wouldn't like if Russia tried to establish a military base in Mexico, or when they tried in Cuba, the world almost ended because we said that's a cause for war. So if a president explained this straightforwardly when he came into office, the war would be over. But he's not capable of this. And no one around him is capable of that modest maneuver. And so I think on the Russian side, they have basically lost interest. They don't believe anything good can come out of Washington. President Putin has a very famous interview in Figaro in 2017 where he said, at that point, he said, I've dealt with 3 American presidents. They come into office in dark suits with briefcases and blue ties, come to tell them the way that it really is. And then you never hear of those ideas again. And I think Putin really nails it with that the American system is a military industrial complex. Europe surprised me, frankly, at how enthusiastic it was to double down on this in a kind of economically suicidal way, and perhaps even a militarily suicidal way in the future. But that's where we are. And I don't think the Russians give any serious thought to negotiated outcomes at this stage. I think they're just trying to achieve their military aims at this point, and are not expecting Trump to do anything useful in that.
Ooh, wee. Ooh, off the face of the earth. Where we at, y'all? Are we through, or y'all gonna hit the like button? What we doing? How Lisa Putin thinks? It's funny that Trump has a lot. You think? Let him tell it. He the smartest thing on earth. Yeah, get the lights up, y'all. Come on.
Not just products, your daily upgrade.
Has just landed in the middle of Melania Trump.
Author Michael Wolff has claimed in a lawsuit that First Lady Melania Trump threatened.
We want to hear about Melania right now. I don't know if I want to hear about. Let's hear about this humiliation.
I like he's going open. Do you believe that a regime that is based on ethno-supremacism is illegitimate or not?
Well, I don't exactly know what you mean. What do you mean?
I don't. Of course, he knows exactly. I don't know what you mean. I know what he means. I'm a C student. You're a guy with a journalism degree. You really don't know. Of course, he knows what he means. Piers Morgan. I go back and forth on Piers Morgan. I like he's going open neck. Looks good. Looks very cash. I hope his hip is doing well. Remember he broke his hip, had to get a hip? Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, I don't know if I want to hear this.
Donald Trump is blinking. Apparently, he is in denial as Iran has launched missiles and drones at the United Arab Emirates, at their port city of Fujairah, as well as hitting a South Korean cargo ship, as well as a United Arab Emirates cargo ship as well. Now, Donald Trump is pretending like this did not happen and that his so-called Project Freedom is going perfectly. Now, Donald Trump claimed in a social media post that he was going to be escorting ships in the Strait of Hormuz and that Navy ships were heading into the Strait of Hormuz. which caused an escalatory response from Iran. In addition to what I just stated happened, Iran also launched warning strikes at the U.S. Navy ships, which stopped going into the Strait of Hormuz.
Okay, y'all,
Iran has launched a number of other ballistic
I'm finna shut it
missiles,
down because y'all not getting the likes
drone
up.
strikes in the direction of the United
Yeah,
Arab
I'm about
Emirates,
to
and
shut it
specifically the
down.
strike that
Double
hit the,
tap the face
port
of the
city of
phone.
Fujairah is significant.
Or
This
hit those three
Fujairah
dots at the
port
top right
is one of
corner.
the areas that the UAE has been using in order to try to get around the Strait of Hormuz closure by Iran.
Okay, we're not
routing
going.
oil
All right.
through this.
Y'all have a good night. I'll be back
around
on
the
Candace
Strait of Hormuz.
or whenever.
So
y'all not getting the likes
clear
up, so I'm finna shut it
escalation
down.
happening with Iran striking and successfully hitting these targets.